this can't be live.
I didn't go there one way. Yeah.
Hey man, I have multiple first class.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Jonesboro Rotary.
Hey, David.
For the David. How are you?
One way.
Please continue.
We're gonna kill you.
We've got the,
You want the music to play good?
I thought it was my book.
thanks, Larry.
Tell him to read behind it.
Just depends on which kind of music to hear. The modern day.
Edit it out and bring the bell in.
Absolutely.
He's gonna have to. So let it be written, so let it be done.
My wife is too quiet. Speak up. We have got a good day lined up today. Glad everybody is here. And I'm going to call on the chief of staff to give us our invitation.
Thank you, President David. Please join me in the Rotary prayer. Open our eyes that we may see, open our ears that we may hear, touch our hearts that we may love, clear our minds that we may think, strengthen our hands that we may work. Amen.
Thank you, John. Well, today we got it back. We got some member moments today that we are going to have. And we are going to start it off with Minda. Since ladies are first, we're going to have her start.
Can we have Yvonne lead it off because she's coordinating the two?
Yvonne, would you please get up and reintroduce them, please?
Happy to. Girls and boys. I'd like for you to be I want you to meet very carefully and very lovingly Minda Daughtry, who is our newest member, and she is coming to us from the Extension Service here in Lee County. She is our new horticulture agent. She's got a lot of talent, a lot of skills, and we look forward to having her keep with us. Keep with us.
Hey, Yvonne, can you do that again so I can turn the camera on you?
Well, I moved it anyhow, so, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, well, Larry sent us this email for our member moments outline. So, got a couple of questions y'all had asked I'd like to answer for you. Why? Why did you join the Rotary? Well, I've been looking at some different service organizations since I started coming to Sanford. And even before Bill brought the corporate opportunity to my attention, I'd settled on Rotary because I really connected with the kind of projects that you all get involved in. The Interact, the Stop Hunger Now, those kind of things. And I wanted to be part of that too. So that's why I chose Rotary, especially this one. After I met y'all the first time and I realized what kind of fun you had as you fellowship together and that you were all interested in building foundations and helping other people get started, I wanted to be a part of that. So that's why I joined Rotary. Where? Where was I born? I was born, yes, I'm a Yankee. I was born in Oceanside, New York, but my mom's family was in Smithville since the 1700s.
Wow.
So we were, this was the second home that every vacation we came to North Carolina. In fact, one of my earliest memories was tying June beetle legs together and watching them helicopter around in the back of a pickup with a hound dog. Kind of both. But I moved to Smithville myself permanently in 1977 to help my grandmother. At that time, she had double hip replacement before they actually did the kind that didn't cut you wide open. So that's when I came here permanently, and I've been here ever since. Okay, the next question. Who? My family information and my heroes. I actually have two heroes who defined, one defined me and the other refined me. The first one was my dad, and he was quite the character. He was a salty old sailor. And someday I'll have to tell you about the lesson of the toilet seat.
Oh, no, today.
It's not what you think, it's a good story. And my second hero is my mother-in-law. She was my very best friend and my role model. Both of them taught me the power of curiosity and the strength of determination. And those are, hopefully I can pass those lessons on and have passed them on to my 3 children. I have 2 sons and a daughter. All of them have degrees and have graduated. One of them is getting her doctorate. And all of them have the most important 3-letter degree, a J-O-B.
That's good.
So when did I come to Sanford? I just started working in Sanford in January and was finally able to relocate here at the end of June. John helped me with that. And it was a real pleasure to get rid of an hour and 35-minute commute each way. So thank you so much, John.
You're very welcome.
Now, what do our members not know about you? Well, probably pretty much everything you don't know about me other than what Ron just told me. Well, as you've heard, I'm the horticulture agent, so just shy of being that crazy plant lady. But I love questions, and I grew up being terrified of insects, and now my freezer at work is the freezer of death, because we get all kinds of samples and are very interested in identifying them. Had a very cool one from Ed just this week, an imperial moth, which gets to be, brought in the caterpillar and we identified it. It gets to be almost 7 inches wide. It's very, very cool. It's a very interesting caterpillar, and they're not all that common around here. So it's purple and cream colored tie-dye looking. So keep your eyes out for that. That's a really good one to have. What else? Oh, one thing that even Bill and Yvonne don't know about me is that I absolutely love the violin in any genre at any time, and I intend on learning how to play it myself one day. So what is my best memory and experience? Well, that's very clearly my first best experience was when I first became a mom. Because that's when I found out what it really, really means to absolutely love someone, and that experience blew me away, and it still does.
Good.
Bill gets the clip notes. Yeah, Bill, you gotta do a clip note.
I gotta do it. Okay.
David, last week I found out what Linda did, so I immediately ran home and got all my dead tomato plants and ran out to Rocket. And she said she'd send me an email of what was wrong with my tomato plants. And then that evening, I got a dissertation. So she does do her job.
I am a wordy child, I'll tell you now, I am a wordy child.
Well, it's good to water them.
Order is good. Getting a lot shorter.
It's your day, Mom.
Bill Stone, newly made director of our extension service, and I'm so proud of him.
Well, thank you all. Yvonne, thank you for that welcome and introduction. But I know many of y'all in here, and I appreciate you having me here, and we really do appreciate the opportunity to come in as corporate members. Minden and myself, Zach, when he came to town, he's doing the program, is the other member of our staff. He's our field crops agent, and Zach was already in the Lions Club, so we will allow him to continue to be in the Lions Club. But maybe we can persuade him to come to visit every now and again. But he's also a part of a great service organization in county too. So, but for some reason, somehow, I guess I've avoided doing my member moments since I've been an honorary member for a number of years, and I was trying to think back how many years that's been. I guess that was my probationary or trial period that I was on, and finally, something must have clicked, and y'all decided that maybe I had what it took to let me in the group. It must have been Minda, so thank you, Minda. But I did want to just maybe share a couple things that Larry had sent on the email about member moments. Why did I join Rotary? Well, I think my first experience really with Rotary was probably in 2006 when I attended, or I took part in the GSE, the Group Study Exchange, through Rotary. Took a month-long trip to Scotland as part of that, and it was a wonderful experience. Got to meet Rotarians, of course, from all across the country of Scotland. Stayed in their homes, went from town to town, talked at their Rotary meetings, just really learned more about what an amazing organization it was, and really saw a lot of the commonalities among people all across the world. A couple interesting memories from that trip was I did wear my first kilt, and I did wear it the right way. So I think that was and the other thing I remember, the best meal we had over there in Scotland the whole time we were there was Indian food. So I did remember that as well. One of the Rotarians was actually from India, and he had a restaurant, and he took us there, and that was probably one of the most memorable meals we had over there. Where was I born? Schools, careers. I was born in Opelika, Alabama. Some of y'all may know where that is, not too far outside of Auburn. Moved to Cary, North Carolina when I was pretty young. I think I was about a year and a half. Grew up in Cary. I was telling John just a minute ago, Cary High School at that time was the only high school in Cary. Of course, that's changed. The area has changed quite a bit. So I'm glad to be down here, glad to be away from all of that. Lived down in Sanford. I've been here almost 16 years now. Love it, consider it my home. You know, I'm so grateful to be part of this community. Went on to, from Cary High School, went on to University of North Carolina in Greensboro. Had a great time there. Actually played baseball there for 4 years, was a catcher on the baseball team. Had a really good time there. Came, once I graduated, found a job here in Lee County with the Cooperative Extension as the 4-H agent. While I was working there, I was able to go through and complete my master's degree at NC State University. I've been a lifelong Wolfpack fan, so that was a cool experience for me to be able to complete that degree. And currently wrapping up, almost wrapped up, very close to completing my doctorate degree at North Carolina A&T State in organizational leadership. So that will be a big relief when I'm done. That's been going on for about 6 years, and I'm just ready to finish that up. So. Family and, or my family, of course, many of y'all know my wife, AJ, my daughters, Elizabeth Charles, Ella Charles is what we call her. She's my oldest one, she'll be 3 in November. And my little one is Johanna, she's about 1 year and 4 months. So it's kind of a madhouse at our place these days, but we're having a lot of fun with them, really enjoy having the 2 little ones. My mom lives in town in Sanford. She's been living down here about probably 6 months now and really enjoying her time here. My dad is remarried and he lives up in Harrisonburg, Virginia now. And my sister actually lives all the way across the world in Singapore. So she's working over there in international marketing and advertising agency. So she's married and she has a small child, a little girl that's about 3 months now. So I was asked to talk about my hero, and I thought a little bit about this morning. Obviously the first person that comes to mind is Larry Aiken. But I figured that. Bragging bucks, right? You know, but then I figured everybody probably uses Larry, so I'd have to make another selection. So, first time look at it. So if it wouldn't be Larry, I'd probably have to say my mom. I just think her generosity, her kindness, and the genuine nature that she's always shown, you know, our family and others is just, you know, makes her very special to me. So I aspire to be like that. So, sorry, Larry, but a close
Good company.
Again, I already talked about how long I've been in Rotary. What do members not know about you? I didn't know if this was a time to share skeletons in your closet. I figured probably not, but yeah, probably.
Absolutely.
One thing I guess that's kind of interesting that y'all probably would not know, and my mom always tells people this for some odd reason, but when I was born, I was the largest baby in the new wing of the hospital, and it was in Lee County, Alabama, so Lee County. I think I was 11 pounds, 8 ounces. And she loves to tell people that, and she always calls me or texts me on my birthday to remind me that I need to be thanking her on this day for that process, which I'm sure was not enjoyable for her. But anyway, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Best memory, wow moment. I think this is really special to me. Many of y'all knew AJ's dad, Mike Thomas. Sorry, I get emotional talking about this. Mike in 2013, this was actually about probably a month and a half, 2 months before he passed away, we got the opportunity to go on a fishing trip. And we were went out of Morehead City, out of Beaufort, and it was Mike, myself, and my brother-in-law, Thomas. And Mike caught a sailfish. It was the first sailfish he ever caught, and actually caught a marlin, which was the first marlin I had ever caught. So we both got him in and got him up to the boat. And on the way in, I guess the tradition is you have to jump out of the boat as you're going back up to the dock. So we've got some cool pictures of me and Mike jumping off and splashing around, and then with the flags, you know, upside down and stuff like that. So that's a great memory, something I always cherish. And I know many of y'all know Mike and, you know, still love him and think about him, and just, you know, thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know if y'all had ever heard that, but yeah, so that's my member moments. Thank you guys.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Glad to have y'all here. Now, did you catch Brian Moeller, or was he before you?
Moeller was before me. Okay. He was about 3 or 4 years before me. Yeah.
He might not have a pretty good career.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah. He grew up down right
Okay.
when the high school was
Yeah.
there. I sold him a few gloves when he was coming up, so that's why. So, I didn't think, he wasn't a great pitcher in high school. When we got to UNCG, he really
took off.
Really
Played
took
for
off.
Detroit, I guess. With
He did.
A couple of the teams.
wound up, I don't know if he wound up with the Braves or not, because I think he did, because he lived down in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So, but,
Had a good career.
yeah, thank you for that.
Sure.
Just give you a little recap of last week out at CUOC. Well, Larry sent me a final total. We did about 300 pounds of food last week. Congratulations, and thank you so much for that. We had a good group of volunteers, and it was good to have Assistant Governor, District Governor Tommy out there. I would say get his hands dirty, but he did take his coat off.
Briefly.
Lori Navarro, our District Governor-elect, was there, and he did a good job. John Spillman came at the end of it, but and I think he was impressed with what we do out there. So thank you all for that. Keep in mind the end of October, the RLI Institute. Really hope that we can get people together that, because it is a very enlightening ordeal. September the 8th, we are going to be at Jonesboro Methodist Church for our meeting, so keep that in mind. I think it's a couple weeks away. And then got a notice the other day about a harvest walk coming up in November. We'll talk more about that later on. Van, are you finished?
No more.
Okay. Yeah, good. I didn't want you to. 'Cause
Thank you.
if you are, there's something wrong.
President David. Don't think we have any guests today except Zach. And of course, we'll give him a big round of applause. Announcements, Larry, you've got a few.
Couple. We didn't have time when the governor was here to put this banner on our banner, but this is what we're gonna try and do every year, bring this up to date. This is the perfect attendance banner, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with perfect attendance, plus the new members that joined us during this year, have all either attended or watched YouTube, so they have perfect attendance too. We want to keep it up. Thank you, Nash.
Okay.
Keep it going. So Janice, Chris, Nash, and Cammie and Cameron have all got perfect attendance. So the guy with the 29 years gets to post this up there. That's your.
Where are we going to post it?
Find someplace on the banner. You don't have to.
All right, okay.
Okay, I'm passing around the list for Character Plus. Please check your name off. And if you can help, or if you're not on the list, write your name down, because we need about 12 people at each school So obviously, this is the biggest thing that we do all year long. So I ask you to do that.
What are the times, Larry?
Pardon?
What are the times this year?
Well, if you're at Edwards, then it's a given time, second and third week, and from 1 to 2. If you go to one of the other schools, Greenwood or over to Ingram, you can almost pick the day you want to work. I mean, they'll have a given day, but they'll also,
I've worked any day.
yeah, any day. So
And
it's
it's
a
from,
lunch buddy thing then to work, so if you can, Joe, please.
11:45 to right at 1.
Yeah. So, we'll do more about that. To bring you up to date, I've been working with Bud Marchant over at the community college. They may be interested in our corporate program, so we're gonna talk some more about that with them. Actually, Bud said he might have time to come back full-time at the beginning of next year, because a lot of the projects will be finished. I spoke with Shannon McLean this morning. I'm going to take her a takeout because she can't get out of the office. Although she's taking vacation, the first vacation that she's had for 2 years. And so she'll come back to us in October. All the other leave of absence people should be coming back by the October or maybe the first of the year. Last thing is COC really needs help on the 18th of September to collect the food from the fair, the Lions Fair, and we have to have it sorted off the truck so the truck can go up to Raleigh the next day on Monday. So we'll get a sign-up sheet going around for that in September. Thank you.
Any other announcements coming from the club at this time? Jim Miller.
Shelter Box is going to Italy. They are en route, and we had $243 in the kitchen. Thank you all very much.
And that gets matched, right?
Yes, it does.
Ooh,
Thank you,
you're
Mr.
gonna
Miller.
be in trouble.
Any other announcements coming from the club at this time? How about brags? I see David Spivey's getting his wallet out.
Shoulder box.
Shoulder box, oh, okay. Any brags? Anybody?
I think I better brag on Bill
right,
and
Larry.
Linda.
Hey, I'm gonna brag. Saturday, it was my wife's 56th birthday. She didn't like it when I said that. It looked pretty good in the card. I don't know. I was trying to and my daughter has officially been hired. She's working for Duke Life Point up in Durham. Yeah, she got a really good offer. She's really excited. And my son has picked up another job, so now he's working 2 jobs. He's working from 7 o'clock in the morning till 4:30 at one job, and he's coming home and getting cleaned up, and he's working 6 o'clock to midnight at another job. I'm all happy for him. With that much work, he can't get in too much trouble. That's what I'm thinking. So,
£1,000 an acre on average of tobacco. Now we're looking over 2,500 pounds an acre. They're still under 1,000 pounds an acre. Takes up a massive amount of land, and the quality just is not there. Same thing with Brazil and Zimbabwe. They're a little bit closer to what we can produce. They're getting a little bit closer. They still don't have the yield that we do. I spoke with a professor at NC State a while back, and he said, you know, we're always talking about Brazil as our biggest competitor, and a lot of our farmers are really scared of it. He said he was down there last year, and he was talking to one of the farmers in Brazil. And he said, well, let me show you something. I want to show you something I'm really proud of. And he walked him over and showed him a tractor, and he said, this is our first tractor on the farm. We just bought it last year. They're still farming with ox down there. We're long past that point here in North Carolina. But you can see that the U.S. really only accounts for 6% of the global production. But remember, 60% of that is getting exported. And when we look at that in terms of North Carolina, we are the biggest player. This shows the amount of tobacco production in the U.S., and this lighter gray color is North Carolina. You see a little bit of production in Georgia and Florida, a little bit in South Carolina, a little bit in Virginia. But we are the major player in that game. So the point I want to show with this, though, is that this is a very volatile market. If those trends start to change in China, there is certainly a chance that we're in trouble.
Zach, when you keep referencing quality, is it the soils, the temperatures, the amount of sunlight? Why do we have the quality tobacco plant?
There's several factors in it, and a lot of it is our soils. A
Right.
lot of it is also our climate and the humidity in this area.
Yeah.
That does make a difference on that. We think of humidity being bad for tobacco as it brings in diseases, but that plant really thrives here. Tobacco is a tropical plant, and so it enjoys our summer climates. And a major key in that is ripening. So a way to explain that is if I came in here with 2 bunches of bananas, one's green, one's yellow, and I said, who wants a banana? I doubt anybody in this room is going to pick one out of that green bunch. Our soils allow tobacco to ripen over time. The ripening tobacco involves leaching of nitrogen out of the soil. We have very sandy soils, very easy to leach nutrients through. We can control that timing of the year. They just can't do that in China. Their tobacco stays green throughout the year, and when it's not ripe, it doesn't reach that quality. We start looking at some of those other crops. We look at some of the other ones that were high value on that chart I showed you. These are the things that we think about as replacing tobacco in the future, as being really high value crops. We know we can't make it on soybeans and corn, but can we make it on vegetables, small fruits, blueberries, strawberries? Can we make it in greenhouse crops and nursery? So we look at some of those budgets. The strawberry budgets, we looked at that estimated return between 30 and 35,000 an acre. Our estimated cost there, we're looking at 18,000. So we're talking 12,000 plus an acre return on this. We were only talking about 1,400 on tobacco, so why not just grow strawberries? Strawberries everywhere. Well, problem is marketing. We've got a limiting factor here. Certainly the Sanford Farmers Market does a lot for the farmers in the area. Other local foods markets do a lot for the farmers in the area, but there's only so many people you can reach with that. I like to tell people we've got what I call a Walmart society. Wherever the cheapest product is, that's where they'll go. And there's certainly a segment of the population that wants to support that local agriculture. But in terms of efficiency, we can't compete with some of the larger farms out of state that can get into the market, into somewhere like Walmart and sell at a really low price. Why is that? A lot of people ask us, why is it cheaper to bring in produce from Florida or California than it is to get it from a few miles down the road? And a lot of just that aspect of access to shipping and packaging. They have a lot more labor than we do. We certainly have the labor available, but they have it in these areas in a very efficient manner where they can package and process, and they're used to doing it. They also have the companies and the manufacturing industry that can do this. And now I mentioned labor here in North Carolina. We're mostly dependent on H-2A labor, which is migrant labor that are here on a temporary basis. So we certainly have access to that labor with that program. So when I look at this value of crops, we saw, really with cotton, it's the same situation with soybeans. We don't have much return on that. I'm not sure on that 480 when that was estimated. I could run the estimates again on current prices. I imagine it's much lower than that. Cotton prices have gone from $1.50 a pound a couple of years ago down to around 60 cents a pound now. So we look at these other high value crops, and really limited markets are a limiting factor there. We could make more value per acre, but we just don't have the market to sell it in. So the question then is, what can we do about that? So that's where I kind of switched gears here and look into the future of agriculture. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the food manufacturing initiative that North Carolina is heading up right now with our agricultural commissioner and our governor, and also some of the alternative crops and some alternative uses of current field crops that could bring some of that profitability back to the county. So the food manufacturing initiative. So look at this, we've seen here in North Carolina, we've seen a decline in the textile industry, we've seen a decline in the furniture industry. And that leaves empty mills, it leaves empty buildings. Nothing wrong with the building necessarily. Some of them have gone into disrepair, but certainly it's unused real estate, it's jobs that have left the country or left the state. And the thought process here is, can we bring those jobs back? We can supply a different product. We were supplying cotton to the mills. Can we supply food to them? Can we supply tomatoes? Can we supply green beans? Can we supply other vegetables that can be processed, canned, and then shipped throughout the East Coast, just like they do the same process in California and ship all over the country and all over the world. So we've got an excellent food science department that's teamed up with the state on this program. The feasibility study that they've done so far on this suggests that there's a potential to add 38,000 jobs here in North Carolina and over $10 billion to our economy. And really the take-home point is this, that our farmers, they have the access to the labor to get these crops harvested from the fields, and they have the know-how and how to raise these crops. Many of them are raising vegetable crops on a small scale. They just don't have the ability to ramp up because they can't sell those products. So with something like this, it really gives our farmers that kind of market. We're really situated in an excellent area for that here in Lake County. We've got some of the best soils in the state for growing vegetable crops once we put some irrigation on. Some of the alternative crops, we certainly think about the wine and beer industry. There's a lot of talks about biofuels, and then something we don't hear too much about, but that's going on out there, is to talk about pharmaceuticals. We really don't think about how many of our pharmaceutical products come from an agricultural product. Here in North Carolina, we've certainly seen an explosion in the wine and beer industry. There's over 100 wineries here in North Carolina. That number has quadrupled since 2001. A lot of that was driven by the tobacco buyout, as tobacco farmers got out of the tobacco business. They went into something else, and grapes seemed like a profitable way to go with that. Another growing industry is the brewery industry. There's some challenges to growing hops here in North Carolina, but we think it's possible. We're just really having to select those right varieties and figure out a way to find varieties that'll work in our climate. It may not be commercial scale like it is in places like Oregon and Washington. However, it can certainly be on a scale to support some of these small scale breweries.
I've got a friend that's working on growing hops right now. I went over there and he had it in a refrigerator, you know, cold, dark area, the root or whatever. And then he had this real wild trellis set up for it to grow, to crawl up on. And he said he's getting there. I mean, this is a guy that at one time had a huge farm that probably filled all those things you're talking about, tobacco, soybean, you know, and now they're fooling around with this a little bit.
I think it's got potential, especially if we can get that premium, especially working with small microbreweries that can market something that's local and being all a North Carolina product. Same thing with barley production. We talked about some of those grain prices being pretty low for grain crops. With something like barley, we can grow it possibly organically and double that price value and sell it to a brewery directly locally who's willing to pay a premium for North Carolina raised products. Another thing we look at is biofuels. A lot of people think about biofuels and they think about corn, they think about soybeans. I read an article yesterday actually that the Department of Defense is looking at peanut oil and trying to figure out how they can use peanut oil unprocessed, unrefined directly into their naval ships and submarines. But one of the things that's going on here in North Carolina, a company a few years ago decided to build a ethanol processing plant down in Rayford. They were going to feed this plant corn. Now, if North Carolina was a country, it would be the third largest country in the world in terms of importing corn. We have so much poultry, chickens, turkeys. We have the hogs that demand this feed. We just don't have the soils that can grow as much as they do out in Iowa or somewhere like that. We can't grow enough corn already to meet our demand. How are we supposed to meet the demands of an ethanol plant? That company quickly found that out once they got up and running. They went out of business. But another company has purchased that plant now, and they're looking at modifying it. And what they've looked at is how they can run tobacco through that plant and make biofuel out of tobacco. There's potential there to make 3 times more ethanol per acre out of a tobacco field than there is out of corn.
What about kudzu?
I read once that people were trying to do something with kudzu. They're trying to make some sort of biofuel or something.
I haven't read that. I have to look into it.
Sure is a lot of it out
That's
there.
one to look up. There's plenty of it
We got
around.
it.
That was pretty well. Got a lot of
With tobacco, it's a crop that has a high sugar content. especially depending on how you grow it.
Okay.
So that's one reason I think that they really look at tobacco is because of the sugar content. I'm not sure what the sugar content is on
Because
cocaine.
probably accurate.
Has pretty good protein content. It's a good forage for goats and livestock, but not sure on the sugar. Moving on to pharmaceuticals, it's one we never think about. Tobacco is another key player here in this realm. One of the things that Ebola was a big scare about a year ago or so. Tobacco was something that they really looked at and thought that we could bioengineer these plants to produce a vaccine for Ebola. Another big one is the flu vaccine. Currently, flu vaccines, most of them are made in chicken eggs. That's how the vaccine is bred, is inside the chicken egg. It's an expensive process, takes a lot of time. But a company right here in North Carolina, NRTP, produced 10 million flu vaccines in 30 days using tobacco plants. Much more efficient, much faster. They can make 100 million doses for $36 million. That's 36 cents per dose. We're talking a major cost savings to both the company and the consumer as far as flu vaccines go. And maybe if we could figure out some way to make EpiPens, I know that's we'd be on the right track. We also talk about tobacco, and we think of the bad side of tobacco. We think of it causing cancer. The potential there that tobacco could be used to cure cancer. Breast cancer drug Herpessin is scheduled to reach the market in 2018. Currently, production costs are $1,000 per dose. It's currently grown inside the ovaries of a gerbil. Not only do we save all those gerbil lives, we can do it for $100 per dose of tobacco. So we're talking about a total treatment cost of $100,000 before. Now we're talking about a total treatment cost of about $10,000. That's something that's a lot more affordable to most families.
Yep, absolutely.
Really, we've got a ton of possibilities here. Any biomedicine can be made in tobacco. Easy crop to work with. It's been researched with for years. There's potential there to make antibodies for HIV/AIDS. There's potential the Department of Defense has looked at it for making nerve agents and protection against nerve agents such as sarin gas. Alzheimer's, diabetes, you name it. There's probably a way to make a bioengineered product out of tobacco. Now, just finish up with this real quickly, the economic impact of agriculture, both in North Carolina and right here in Lee County. Agriculture is North Carolina's #1 industry. A lot of people don't think that. If you go around and poll most people, they'll think it's technology, they'll think it's manufacturing. No, the #1 industry in North Carolina is actually agriculture. #2 is actually defense. So we're ahead of the defense budget in here in North Carolina. In 2014, food, fiber, and forestry contributed $76 billion to our economy and employed about 642,000 people. And the commissioner is actually trying to get that up to $100 billion by 2020. Right here in Lee County, we look at it at an impact of agriculture and food industries of $243 million to our economy. Add in forestry, that's another $8 billion. We take into account agribusiness, we bump that up when we're looking at about $218 million right here. We estimate between 100 and 150 seasonal of those migrant workers come in. Certainly they send some money home to their families, but they're also spending money while they're here. And in total, that has a value-added effect of $2.8 billion to our county. So without agriculture, I like to say, where would Lee County be? Well, it would be $2.8 billion short of where we are right now. We'd also be 4,000 less jobs here in the county, plus the family members that depend on those jobs. And I also like to end with this and just say what other companies we want to be here. I think it's a great marketing tool in our county. When, like Bill said, growing up in Cary, and now he's happy to be here in a more rural county. I think a lot of people feel that way. And certainly we don't want to reach a point where we're turning into Cary and becoming too urban that we run off as agriculture. I think it's important to preserve that farmland because I do think it adds something to the quality of life here in the county. So, any more questions?
Any questions? Why are the amount of farms dropping so much? Is it death of the owner of the farm where the kids aren't taking over, or is it more of going out of business because I can't make enough money?
A little bit of both. Our average age of the farmer, I believe, is 59 now.
county. Some of those have children that are interested in taking on the farm. Some of them do not. From the other aspect, we look at the value of that equipment. We're talking about farms that value over $600,000 on average. With our current tax structure, it makes it almost impossible to inherit a farm unless that family has really been proactive in planning. If there's a sudden loss of a family member, it's really tough to inherit a farm before you get that tax bill. And some of it is just, like I said, the efficiency. With tobacco being our really only large-scale, economically viable crop, it slowly gets weeded out so that the most efficient growers are the ones who can afford to stay in the business and afford the newest technology.
Thank you very much.